Have you noticed that those you envy usually have the life you wish you had? Have you asked yourself why certain people trigger you, why others don't? The problem is not that you compare yourself to others, it's that you don't compare yourself to who you could be. Personally, I don't think envy is a sign of insecurity. I think it's a sign that you're self-aware. If someone else's success makes you uncomfortable, this video is not here to shame you, it's here to explain why. The moment you stop denying envy and insecurity is the moment it loses its power over you. So how do we go about fixing this issue? First, stop pretending envy makes you a bad person. I believe that why most people deny being envious of others is because they feel that envy is such a bad thing, like it's such an evil emotion, that they would rather deny than accept the fact that they're envious of someone. Most people are insecure, most people are envious of others. The difference is that some people admit it and they find a way to grow from that, while others deny it and then they become bitter. Envy is not evil. What might be evil is the actions that you take based off of you being envious of someone. Envy is only a way that your mind points something out to you. The problem is not envy, the problem is living inside of it. I want you to stop denying it and stop shaming yourself for being envious, because the problem when you start shaming yourself for something is instead of fixing it, you find a way to bury it. Let me tell you guys a story. Yesterday I went for a birthday party for a 1-year-old, and I was speaking to her mom. Let's call her mom Jessie. Yeah, so Jessie was telling me of this other friend of hers called, let's call her Barbara. So Jessie and Barbara are both friends and they both went through periods of infertility. For the longest time they couldn't conceive and they were trying everything. So luckily for Jessie, she managed to conceive first the birthday we went for yesterday. That's her child's birthday party, and Barbara didn't conceive. The problem is Barbara became so envious that she literally cut Jessie out of her life. Like she cut her off simply because she now has a baby. So yesterday while we were talking, Jessie was hot about the whole situation, and I was trying to be like the voice of reasoning, and I was saying to her that, you know, to an extent I don't blame Barbara for being envious of you, because unfortunately you are now sort of a trigger. You know, seeing Jessie now triggers Barbara because, you know, Jessie has a child and Barbara is still looking for one. This is part of why I said that I don't really think that envy is necessarily an evil thing. What's evil is the actions you take based off of you being envious of someone. Like, I understand why Barbara is envious of Jessie, because, you know, you're looking for a child, she's looking for a child, and then she got hers, you didn't get yours. I get why she's envious, but then the things that she ended up doing based off of that envy is where I would fault her. Now let me tell you something. That envy was so bad that she didn't wish the baby happy birthday yesterday, and mind you, she's very close friends with Jessie. So why envy might not be an evil thing, the actions you take based off of you being envious of someone. Sorry, that's a helicopter. Step number 2, identify what you envy, not who you envy. Like I said earlier, there's a reason why some people trigger you and others don't, and that's because there is something about that person that triggers you that perhaps other people don't have, therefore it doesn't trigger you in other people. Something I've observed when people become envious of someone is that they start having some sort of obsession with them and almost wanting to become that person. But the thing is, it's not that you want to become that person, it's that there's something that person has that you wish you had as well. It could be their confidence, it could be their freedom, it could be their body, it could be their income, their job, their marriage, whatever. Actually, let me tell you something. There's this lovely influencer I follow that recently got her body done. You know, she got the BBL, she got the lipo, she got the breast augmentation, she fixed her teeth, fixed everything. And all of a sudden, I've noticed that most of the comments are now like hate comments. And I was wondering to myself, like, what changed? And mind you, prior to all this happening, she used to have like really lovely comments. And all of a sudden, everyone has turned on her. And I was thinking about it the other day. I said, like, what could be the problem? Because for one, her body looks nice, like her body looks mad. I'm not even joking about that. She looks good. And I was wondering why exactly are people suddenly leaving all these hate comments? And I came to the conclusion that she looks too good. It's just jealousy. It's just good old envy. They are envious of the fact that she has leveled up. So it's not that they hate her, it's the fact that they hate what she now represents to them. Something unattainable. She doesn't look like them anymore. When you see yourself envying someone, I don't want you to deny it. I want you to break down the reason, the exact things that you envy about this person, so that that envy becomes actionable. What exactly do they have that triggers you? Is it their money? Is it their beauty? Is it their body? What exactly is it about this person that triggers you? Once you have that clarity, it removes helplessness, because now you know exactly what to work on. If the body is what triggers you, you now know that, all right, so that means I want to work on my body. If their job is what triggers you, perhaps you need a better job. If their marriage is what triggers you, perhaps you need to work on yours, or whatever it is. But first, you need to break down the exact thing about this person that triggers you. The next one is you need to understand that sometimes envy is just a sign of your lack of self-respect. You envy others because you don't respect yourself enough the way they do. Many people envy others because they keep betraying themselves. So that envy comes from you realizing that this person does for themselves the thing you wouldn't do for yourself. It could be the fact that they respect themselves enough to not stay like in a bad relationship or marriage, and that triggers you because you are in one. So the moment you see them enjoying their marriage or their relationship, it sort of reminds you of the fact that you don't respect yourself enough and you are perhaps in an abusive relationship. Why this person would never do that to themselves? Or it could be the fact that they keep going for what they want and they don't let their environment or their situation to dictate who they become. So whenever you see yourself envying someone, ask yourself, is there something about this person that reminds me of the fact that I don't respect myself enough. Again, it could be them having a good relationship or a good job that makes you realize that this person would never take no for an answer, or this person would never settle for less, whereas on the other hand, you see yourself settling for less. The next step is stop comparing your inside to people's outside. Stop comparing your fears, your doubts, your unfinished product, your behind the scene to the highlights that people post. The thing is, you have full access to your inner chaos, but the only access you have to others is their performance. You only see what people want you to see, or the side of them that they want you to see. Say for instance, you're an insecure person. Whenever you see a confident person, you already paint the full picture in your mind. You think of them as someone who goes for what they want, someone who doesn't take no for an answer, someone who is ambitious, who is this and that. But then you are comparing that to what you're seeing and not necessarily what's inside. Mind you, confidence can be faked. Most things can be faked actually. But then because you always compare your inside to people's outside, you think that they are way better than you simply because of that. All this is to say is what you see about someone is what they choose to show you. You don't really know all about someone simply from what they post or like what they choose to show the public. The problem with comparing your inside to people's outside is that there's a lot of context mixing there. The next step is limit exposure to what triggers you. Let's say for instance on social media, if someone's content make you to spiral, unfollow them, mute them, or block them. This is not jealousy, it's self-regulation. You can't heal your insecurity by constantly triggering it. If you have something that triggers you, the only way you can heal is by strengthening your own self-identity first. I want you to see insecurity as a wound. Let's say for instance you have a wound on your shoulder. The only way that wound is going to heal is when you leave it alone in the perfect environment for it to heal. You won't keep poking a wound just to prove that you are strong. That same way, you don't want to keep poking your insecurities to prove that you're not insecure. The next step is build private competence, not public validation. Envy and insecurity thrive when your validation is from external approval, or being liked, being praised, or being noticed. Confidence grows when you have a private proof. When you know what you're capable of doing, other people's success stop triggering you. The only way you can stop being envious of other people is by building self-trust. The more you do things, or the more you keep promises to yourself, the more you show yourself that you are capable of whatever you put your mind to. Let me give you an example. Say for instance you want to change career and you actually put in the work required for you to move to the next career. The moment you do that, you've proved to yourself that you can do whatever you set your mind to do. And that means whenever you see other people achieving things, you don't envy them, because you know if you want to get that, you can also get that as well. Because in the past, you've proved to yourself that if you want to do something, you actually do it. The next step is use envy as a compass, not a curse. Anytime you feel envious of someone, I want you to ask yourself, what exactly is this envy pointing to? Because envy is a pointer to something. It could be a neglected dream, it could be a suppressed ambition, it could be a life that you secretly want to have. Healthy people don't deny or kill envy, they redirect it. Whenever you're envious of someone, ask yourself, what exactly is this envy pointing? Let me give you an example. I have this pen right here, and let's say for instance I see someone else who has this pen right here. I have no reason to be jealous of them or envious of them because I have one myself. But the problem is, imagine I want this pen right here and for some reason I can't afford it, and then I see someone else maybe buying like 10 of this pen. What's going to happen is I will become envious of that person because they are sort of living a life that I wish I had. So I'm not going to say, oh my god, I hate this person so much, I'm so envious of this person. Rather, I will ask myself, what exactly is this envy pointing to? So this envy is pointing to the fact that I wish I could afford this pen and for some reason I couldn't afford it. Now that is how you use envy as a compass, because it points to the problem that you have, and once the problem is identified, it's easier to fix it. The next step is accept that someone succeeding does not mean that you are losing. Life is not a limited table where someone having more on their plate means you will have less on yours. Someone being richer, funnier, more attractive, more successful than you does not mean there is none left for you. Scarcity mindset is the root of envy. Whenever you see yourself envying someone, it's usually because you think, well, the fact that they have this right now means I can't get that. And that's not how life works. Whenever you see yourself envying someone, the root is usually scarcity. You feel like the moment that they have this thing, it means you can't attain that as well. What poverty or scarcity mindset does to you is that it makes you believe that resources are limited, and if someone have more, it means there's none left for you. I want you to re-engineer your brain into abundance thinking. I want you to start believing that there is enough to go around. You don't need to tear anyone down in order for you to rise. We can all be at the top. The sky is big enough for everyone. So like I said, find a way to engineer your mind from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. Does that make sense? The next step is work on your self-trust, not your self-esteem. I already mentioned something about self-trust earlier, but I'm going to go deeper now. Self-esteem is how you feel about yourself. Self-trust is whether you believe you will show up for yourself. These are two different things. You can have a very high self-esteem, but a very low self-trust. So you think highly of yourself, but then you don't always show up for yourself. Insecurity usually stems from your inability to follow through. Whenever you say you're going to do something, the fact that you fail to do that is also the source of insecurity. And the only way to fix this is by showing up for yourself. If you say you're going to do something, do that in regardless. If you have plans to do something for yourself, follow through. The moment you see yourself showing up over and over and over again, your self-trust starts to go high. I once made a video, hopefully I can link it, where I said that the thing that helped increase my self-trust was the fact that I started showing up for myself regardless of how I was feeling, regardless regardless of what's happening around me, if I say I'm going to do something, I just end up doing that thing. In that video, I mentioned that last year, I told myself I'm going to exercise every single day, Monday to Friday, and I did that. Even when the scale wasn't moving, even when I wasn't losing the weight, I showed up every single day of last year. So the simple fact that I showed up myself in that one area also somehow spread to other areas of my life. Once you start to trust yourself, envy loses the grip it has on you. The next one is confidence is built, not discovered. Now, for some reason, people think I'm a very confident person, and that is true. I'm very confident. But then, over and over again, I see myself having to explain to people that I wasn't born confident. I had to build my confidence. I had to build myself up to the level where I am right now. And how do you build confidence? It goes back to the point I mentioned earlier, by building self-trust. The more you show up for yourself, the more you do things over and over again, regardless of the failures, the more confident you become. The people that you envy were not always good at it, but they kept going over and over again until they achieved the thing that they want. Confidence is not the absence of insecurity. It's you acting despite of that insecurity. The next step is replace comparison with creation. Every minute you spend comparing yourself to someone is a minute you could have spent on your own growth. If you're the type to stay on social media, comparing your body to other people's body, or your wardrobe to your wardrobe, or whatever, or even their career and their job to yours, you need to stop. Like I said earlier, the moment you identify the thing that you envy about someone, you need to start working on that. And the only way you can work on that is by taking your eyes off of them and focus it on yourself instead. Action dissolves envy. The moment you start working on that very thing that you want, the envy disappears, because what? It's now in front of you and you can see the path clearly to get to that. The final truth is, being insecure does not mean that you're broken. It just means that you're an unfinished product. Insecurity doesn't mean that you're weak. It's rather a sign that you haven't become what you are capable of becoming. And that's not something to be ashamed of. It's completely normal. The moment you start working on your own path, that envy you have towards that person now becomes inspiration, because whenever you see them, it inspires you to believe that you can actually achieve that as well. So if you're insecure and you envy others, don't hate yourself for it. I want you to listen to that envy, learn from it, and then act on it. That is to say, envy should trigger you to work on your own life, not hate other people for theirs.